You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there, welcome. I am so grateful you pressed play on this episode today, wherever or whenever you may be. I appreciate you. I also invite you to drop a review on Apple Podcast if that is the platform you are listening through. I haven't asked for a review in quite some time, and when I've done this previously, it has been at the end. In full disclosure, part of me feels a little thirsty for asking this of you. That's what one of my dear friends called it once. Stop being so thirsty. I just want you to understand that it's not coming from that space when I have put that request or invitation out there. I truly want to know if my words are resonating with you. And also, we should all be fully aware of how algorithms work by now. The only way that others will find this podcast without a direct share is with a few more bumps. So think about it. I'm not always forthcoming with my own public reviews, and I acknowledge that. I talk to anyone who will listen about the people and the messages that I love, but I might not always take a minute or two to write that review. I get it. It's a little bit of work. I thank you in advance for your consideration. Anyway, at the time I am recording this, we are poised to tie a big bow on the end of 2021, and with that brings a ceremony of reflection. It's just become an automatic ritual of sorts that we look back on the calendar year that is coming to an end. I'll probably show up with a year in review next week. This is not the week. Today, I want to go a little further back. This one is going to be like a stream of consciousness, but it's been on my mind to speak to since I saw this photo a few days ago of a woman holding a sign that said, "That shit may have broken your heart, but it opened your eyes. Take that win." And the first few lines of it was written in black marker on good old-fashioned poster board up to that last one. Take that win. That part was written in red ink. And I was just immediately drawn to that message. It resonated on levels that I will try to express for you today. It was like a whole gut hit for me. Oh, yes, right in the sacral. I'm not sure it would have had the same impact for me if it had just been a digital meme. Something about holding a sign on poster board is like gold. It takes me back. Takes me back to those days when I was growing up and trying to find my way in the world. Well, let's be honest, I still am. One of my recent guided meditations included the phrase, "Forget about the summit and revel in the climb." Ooh, of course, that is super difficult to do because we just want to get there, to that summit, to the destination, to the peak. We want to get out of the valleys as quickly as possible and climb that ladder, reach the top. We don't revel in the climb. That's a part of this too. Again, stream of consciousness, so stay with me. Let's get back to that impact statement of, "That shit may have broken your heart, but it opened your eyes." It just brought this flood of memories in for me, opened those gates of realization. Yes, that very simple, yet so very profound message was further supported a few days later when a dear childhood friend sent me a DM on Instagram that said, "Remember that time he broke your heart?" No names. He is not the same person now. None of us are. We were all just doing the best we could with what we knew at the time. And teenagers are flat out stupid most of the time. All of those hormones are raging and we don't even know what to do with ourselves. True story. Because there is still a part of me inside that is 14 years old, right? And of course, I remember that time my heart was broken by what I used to identify as that guy. Like, he did this to me. He was on the football team and I was just a dorky freshman, but I thought he hung the moon. I was so lost in his aura of confident masculinity. And he teased me. He played with me. I'm sure it fed his ego at the time to have me and who knows who else literally throw myself at him. We used to talk on the phone for hours. And let me tell you, that was no small feat back in the 80s, friends. We had one house phone upstairs and one downstairs. Having a phone in your bedroom was a status to be coveted. I did not have a phone in my bedroom. It was in the spare bedroom. And yes, I was fully aware that any member of my family could quietly pick up the line downstairs and listen in. The horror of it all. Living on the edge. Anyway, this went on for several months and I really thought he liked me a lot. I truly believed that. I was like planning our wedding in my mind and he was planning how to tell me that he'd fallen for another girl. Someone his age. I was a freshman, he was a junior. He didn't say that, but I got the message. I mean, kudos to him for telling me and not just ghosting me. No, text messages were not a thing then, but he could just as well have slipped a note into my locker and been done with it. And I will give him credit for having told me voice to voice that he really wanted to date this other girl. And so this would be our last conversation. And I was absolutely devastated. Again, I was 14 and I thought I could never love another boy like that. Yes, they ended up getting married and having kids. And yes, they are now divorced. And yes, we are friends on Facebook today because, hey, it opened my eyes. He's not a bad person now, and he wasn't then. He was just trying to navigate life as a teenager, and maybe he thought I was cute, though clearly the pull of attraction wasn't as strong on his part. Now, this was really the second romantic relationship that broke my heart. The first guy I fell for, I was in like 5th grade. And he also chose someone else. And it all got me thinking, what is heartbreak? Especially at such a young age. It is the most visceral form of rejection. And I realize that I have been contemplating this a lot over the past year. Just rejection in general. Now, you can and will certainly be heartbroken when a loved one dies, a parent, a sibling, your partner, or the unimaginable loss of a child. That's not the type of heartbreak that I'm talking about here, and I don't think it's the kind of heartbreak that was meant by the image that I saw a few days ago, but still, yes, that type of heartbreak can also open your eyes to your own capacity for love and eventually resilience. But the heartbreak that is born from rejection is a special kind of pain, isn't it? It is indeed an awakening and an opening of your soul to come to awareness of not just the fallible parts of others, but also the fallible parts of you. It seems much easier in the moment of rejection to point the finger at the source of this lesson and identify all of the ways in which he or she was wrong to have made the choice to close that door. You might find yourself even navigating waves of grief where you shift from absolute despair to anger and blame. You have no idea what you could have had with me, you might say. And this can even be applied to close friendships. It doesn't always have to be a romantic relationship. I have had friendships evolve beyond our capacity to continue. I just made that up. but I'm actually appreciating the concept of evolving beyond our capacity to continue. What that means to me is that it's not ending, but it's more of a completion. Now, I learned that language from one of my mentors along the way, to speak of a completion rather than an ending. Like, it has served its purpose, and I honor the time that we had together, but this relationship is now complete. It's truly one of the most beneficial things I learned from this mentor before I decided to complete our relationship, because I kept finding myself coming back for more and realizing that I would never get back the level of mutual adoration and respect that I was putting out. It was absolutely one-sided, and I had to reconcile that. I had to open my eyes. Same thing with my high school crush. I was putting all of my adoration towards him and expecting that it would be received and reciprocated. It might have been in some small part, but not nearly matching the level that I was putting out. Of course, that's very hard to see in the moment and when you're 14. It's also not easy to see immediately when you're in your 40s. These life lessons that are doled out for us aren't meant to be easy all the time, or obvious all the time, or an immediate intuitive hit that this isn't meant for me. We resist that. Rejection with all that we have, because rejection just feels so fucking awful. It feels so fucking awful because we make it mean that we aren't good enough. When another human, or indeed another soul, rejects us, we feel unworthy, because our mind comes to the party and starts that old playlist of how you aren't enough, or not perfect, or how maybe if you were prettier or smarter or more creative or more socially savvy, you would be better positioned to attract those that you are attracted to create that mutual admiration and respect. It has been said that the mind plays tricks on you, and it certainly does. We have to get better at listening to our souls, our intuition, and our instinct as well. We have disconnected from those parts of us because it doesn't feel safe to be in our bodies and fully feel those emotions, to ride those waves that dip into despair and peak at pleasure. When we have these experiences that rock our world, that indeed feel like in the moment that we are being broken open and fully exposed, we just want the pain to go away. And we'll do just about anything to escape it. We'll turn to whatever form of numbing that we can find, or distraction that will give us a fix right now. There's no shortage of options. You've got booze, drugs, sex, shopping. These days, of course, social media can be a sweet little escape. Until, that is, you see something that triggers you. Let's talk about triggers for just a moment, because those have been a thing I have learned to embrace over the past couple of years as well. We spend a lot of time trying to avoid our triggers instead of seeing them for what they really are. They are opportunities for growth. Opportunities to answer the call and look inside of yourself to see what needs to be healed. What wounds are you still carrying around because you've spent so much of your life trying to hide it or fix it or fade it? You've been trying to convince yourself and everyone else around you that everything is fine. You've been wearing your mask of jolly contentment or projecting your perfect image on social. Like, maybe if you put it out there enough, you'll start to believe it yourself. But inside, you still feel rejected because you've never addressed it. And you can't address it if you're constantly avoiding what triggers you. And you want to avoid what triggers you because you don't want to have your heart broken again. See how this works? It's just this nonstop cycle of rinse and repeat. Listen, no other human can actually reject you. It is your perception of their rejection that is so painful. It's all of that mind chatter and all of the stories that are created in your head about how they're awful to treat you this way. But that's not even how they see it. Back to my high school crush. I'm really picking on him today, but it's such a good example. I can't resist. I give him props for doing what he did because, damn it, there aren't a lot of 16, 17-year-old dudes out there who will actually summon up the courage to speak their truth and to say something like, look, I really like you a lot and I'm super attracted to this other girl, so I just wanted to tell you that's where I'm headed. I'm going to go down this road. It probably wasn't that eloquent, but that was the gist of the message for sure. The alternative scenario is that he could have kept playing around with me, stringing me along, and lying to both of us, lying to me that he was interested in more than friendship and lying to himself in the process. He wouldn't have been true to himself, and he wouldn't have honored the calling of his own heart if he hadn't had that conversation with me. That was so very heartbreaking for me in the moment, yet so very eye-opening over time. And I want you to see this. Since we're talking about open heart and open eyes, I want you to see that it isn't only my perception of him that has changed with my own growth, but it's my perception of me that has also evolved along the way. In part because of this experience. That is just one of so very many. All of the other experiences too. I see how those first couple of rounds of rejection from boys in the early days set me up to seek comfort, value, and self-worth through the outward demonstration of love, in air quotes, from other humans. Not just romantic love, though that was definitely something I chased hard at one time. I think we all do to some degree. If we feel that we are loved and valued, we feel more whole, worthy, grounded, and connected. But the truth is that no other human, again, no other soul can give that to you. All they can do is shine a light on your own wounds so that you can explore them and begin the process of healing yourself. As long as you seek your worthiness from external sources, be it the way that others treat you, the way they speak to you, or the number of followers you have on your favorite social platform, then you are still detached from the truth of who you really are, your entire being, the richness and fullness of being you. You don't want to see that because it might be painful in the moment. You don't want to fully examine the ways that others show up for you as a mirror to your true self, your total essence. You may not want to admit that what is happening could be a reflection of you. You may not want to acknowledge that these are the lessons you signed up for when you entered the classroom of Earth. Yes, I first heard this concept from Carolyn Mace, that the world is your classroom. And every other student here is also your teacher. That's why I want you to take a look at your triggers. Examine what feels awful to you in the instant that you see it, and question why you want to look away or blame another person for having shown it to you, whatever it is. I'm not talking about trauma-inducing triggers. If you have lived through a traumatic experience, and most of us have on some level, that is also part of your growth, and it may require guidance of a therapist to get you out of a hole. Only you will really know that. However, if you're walking around thinking that everyone else is going to fall into line with what you want to see and hear from them, or just in general, you're going to be disappointed, and you're probably going to experience some heartbreak because they don't have your movie script. They may not share the same hurts that you have. They may not have formed the same truths over their lifetime and through their own experience. They may or may not be aware of the impact of their words and their actions. It's not their role to have that awareness. It's your role to have that awareness. It's your time to step up and be the nurturer of yourself and let go of the expectations that everyone else needs to know how to act or what to do or say in your presence. That is your power. And yes, that is also your freedom. An amazing thing happens when you recognize that power that you are carrying around inside of you. You are free. I had an amazing experience with my soul coach last week, and she shared a couple of things that I feel fit well into this topic. One thing that she reminded me of is that the perception of good and bad comes from our socialization, but truth comes from our soul. Oh, yes. Also, another phrase that she shared with me was huge open heart, big fucking fence. And that was in relation to boundaries, which I honestly believe comes from having these experiences that break your heart and then open your eyes, right? How do we know where we might need to redraw the boundaries of our internal property? Where might our fences need a little more reinforcement? It's not closing ourselves off to the opportunity for future life lessons. That's where the huge open heart, in other words, vulnerability, comes in. It's staying open to everything, anything, and everyone, yet it's also saying that when our eyes are opened, we are better positioned to protect ourselves. We don't expect others to do it for us. Example, trigger warnings. We become wiser to all of the ways that we can do it for ourselves. That is some bomb-ass growth energy, and I am here for it. Take that win. As Rumi says, seek the wisdom that will untie your knot. Seek the path that demands your whole being. Listen, I know this episode may have had a flavor of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I much prefer Rumi's wisdom. There is just such a way that those words flow for me. Seeking the path that demands your whole being means allowing yourself to be cracked open, allowing your heart to be broken so that you can fully see who you really are. Yes, I am all for having boundaries, a huge open heart, and a big fucking fence. Part of your path may be within your property boundaries, but a large part of it resides outside and includes encounters with others that aren't always going to be positive, happy rainbows and butterflies. Those things are wonderful. I love those things. I love the feeling of the sunlight on my face, and I love the grounding energy that comes from hugging a tree or walking barefoot in the grass. I also love all of the lessons that I have learned from others who have come into and sometimes out of my life. If you are still a part of my life, or if you are just entering it, I honor you and the path that you are traveling. I love sharing the things that I am learning with you, yet also I want you to understand that your life lessons are your own to live. If we are each unique, and I do believe that we are, I can and will continue to share generalities here with you, but the true magic lies in having a conversation, one-on-one, really exploring where you are and where you'd like to be. Above all, who you are. You are beautiful, wonderful, and amazing. Check show notes for my links and get on my calendar to chat. I promise it will be a fantastic experience. Forget about the summit and revel in the climb. Light up, shine on.